Now it's $199 a month, and am I really going to do it in Chicago where it doesn't work?
Well, maybe it does work. Maybe
Frenchie
you got to
says
give it a
it
try.
doesn't. Frenchie, I don't know if you talked to him, but he still says it's too.
Do you spend most of the time in Chicago, or?
Yeah, I'm always in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
That's where my business is.
Well, it could be worth trying for 1 month.
I mean, if you're out here, it's so overfitted out here.
Yeah.
And it definitely works. You could tell it works from the videos, but when people post things from other towns, it's not as good as yours.
Yeah, I mean, it varies. I mean, it can have issues here too. All right, so I'm here with Gary Black.
Hey.
And we're going to go take a ride with FSD. I'm going to go drop him off in San Francisco where he's staying. And yeah, it's been maybe a year or so since the last time I gave you a ride.
Yeah. And last time was pretty harrowing. It's pretty scary, but maybe it's better now.
All right, let's see if it's better or worse.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go ahead and turn it on. Let me pull out.
So what have you noticed that changes in the last like 2 or 3 months? Like it's not as jerky, it's more predictable. What's different in your mind?
Well,
Interview you.
I mean, you tell me, but I think it's getting pretty usable. It's really getting to, I think, consumer product level where an ordinary person can use it.
But is it at the point now where Tesla would be willing to take the liability, like Waymo and Cruise? If something gets screwed up, they're on the hook. Would Tesla? Is it at that point where Tesla says, if it screws up, I have the liability? Because that's what you need to do to get like these robotaxi type deployment licenses. You have to basically say, I'm going to take the risk if it screws up.
Yeah, I mean,
at that point yet?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think it's at that point, but
it will be.
Well, the difference is Tesla's kind of open-ended. They let you go anywhere. I think if they wanted to do like a closed loop environment with a few city blocks or something like in Arizona where they take liability, I think they're getting pretty close to the point where they could do that. But they're really trying to, take the whole pie, to do the whole world at the same time.
Right.
But, I think this is much more useful. This is much more marketable as a product. Cruise and Waymo are, not really going to make money anytime soon. Okay, so we actually have to turn right here.
This guy's trying to turn next to you.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people who have FSD betas say. The problem is that the people behind them, they get impatient and they honk and...
Right, so I think maybe we're supposed to go this way.
they don't want to wait, so they get annoyed with people.
Yeah.
Is that true? Do you get people honk at you?
Yeah, I mean, it's better at that now, but it can still be slow. Like, that's definitely an example where it's kind of slow, but I think it was kind of confused about where to go. All right, so here we got a roundabout. So it needs to go all the way around the roundabout.
It's good at night. There's nobody on this roundabout. Can I go back to my question now? So, look, where there's a difference in my value. I'm a bull. I'm a big believer in Tesla. I've owned it a long time, and I think it's going much higher from here. But the difference between like my price target and some of these other people, it's a couple things, but mostly it's robotaxi. And so the question is, can you put a robotaxi valuation on Tesla if they're not willing to assume the liability? Can you do that? It's hard for me to get numbers like $1,000 a share like Kathy. When you look at Kathy Wood's numbers...
All right, check out this. We got a construction zone here.
Oh, yeah.
Look how it went around it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so go ahead, Kathy Wood.
I mean, if you look at her price target, a lot of it's coming from robotaxi. So to really get the price up, or the valuation up, you got to assume, some number of rides, some price per mile, some cut. And, in order to do that, you got to get licensed for it, and which means you're going to have to accept the liability. And so that's why you go back to the question, is it at the point, or is it going to be at the point in the next year, where Tesla's willing to assume the liability in a general sense? You can get robotaxis everywhere, not just, like you say, San Francisco or Phoenix.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
You slowed down, right? Or
No, I think it's just, looking to move over to the right, to make a right turn. But the lane's closed, so it's, kind of a little bit confused. But now it's, opening up, so it'll change lanes.
All the way.
Yep, there you go. So,
And you have hardware 3 in here, so you don't have the extra.
yeah, I'm upgrading to a hardware 4 car, but this is hardware 3 right now.
You know, the extra camera, the extra.
Yeah, I mean,
high
I
def
don't know how
visual.
long it'll take, but I think they're really taking an approach here where you can just consistently see the number of errors going down. And you look at, what Waymo and Cruise are doing, you see kind of like the workarounds they have.
Sure.
They have people who remotely monitor and can intervene, can give help. So you see those types of things, and I mean, I can't predict how long it's going to take. A lot of people have tried to predict and been wrong about how challenging it is. But I think we're definitely at a point where it's a when, not an if. And in the meantime, they've got, I think, a great business sort of just selling this. So, I mean, if I were to put a price target on it, I probably wouldn't give any value to Robotaxi yet either.
So you're on the same page I am.
Yeah.
Wow. Because I include FSD in there, and maybe the assumptions are, my take rate is low. I'm assuming 12%. Maybe that's just too low. As it gets better and better, you could assume it's going to go up. But, $12,000 is a lot of money when you're spending $40,000 on a Model 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit difficult to kind of pencil in, when one thing takes off versus the other. But my perspective on it is just kind of like, they have FSD, and they're going to, just look at the total revenue they're generating rather than breaking it off by Robotaxi or, sales of cars or whatever. It's really just kind of a continuous function in a way, whether you're productizing it in the form of, putting it in Tesla insurance or selling it or Robotaxi. I think you can sort of chart out a consistent level of growth on the top and bottom lines that they're pulling out of these efforts.
But that's the difference between my $320 target and others' $1,000 target, right? I assume FSD. I assume they continue to sell it at $12,000 a pop, and half of it I sell at $199 a month. But I only assume 12% of people who buy it, who buy a Tesla, take it on, because that's what the take rate is today. And maybe that's too low. Maybe, what a lot of bulls who disagree with my numbers say, look, you're not assuming enough take rate as this thing continues to get better and better. And that may be true.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is about this software is they put in years and years of work. For a while, it just sucks, right?
Yep.
It's annoying, it's too slow, it's stopping on the highway. People say this is useless, I don't want to touch it, right? Then as it gets better and better, the value increases to the point where an ordinary consumer is saying, okay, I like this. And, as they get into V12, they start training it end to end. That's where I differ. I think the adoption is going to take off. I think
What do you think? What do you think 3 years from now the adoption will be? Meaning the take rate, percentage. Let's just use America, because Asia's different, Europe's different. In America, what percent of people who buy Teslas do you think will pay $12,000 for FSD or pay $199 a month? 50?
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily just going to be $12,000 or $199 a month. The whole sort of upside of this is they have a fixed investment, but they can price it at anything. It costs them, the marginal cost of an activation is nothing. So I think they're really going to come up with a pricing scheme, whatever it is, where 100% of the users in North America are using FSD. Whether it's sort of, a basic free version or a paid version, I think this is sort of the future user interface of the car.
Look, again, as a bull, I get into discussions with other bulls. I say, you're just being too conservative. You're not putting any value on FSD, which is a lie. I put it into my models. I just don't assume more than 12% take. But if it's 50, that changes the numbers a lot.
I mean, I think it's good to be conservative. I think a lot of people sort of misunderstand you in being conservative. But it's good to be conservative. You don't want people to look at your price target and say this is bullshit.
Well, look, that's why I think it's been good this last couple of weeks. You see a lot of sell-side bulls, people who love the stock, who've been very cautious in bringing their numbers down. Because I always tell people, look, I grew up in the institutional world. You can be a bull but you still can alert people when the stock's going to go down short term, because there are people who trade it every day. You know, and I've watched bull after bull put out, like the guy at Deutsche today, put out negative notes. People say, I thought he was bullish. He is bullish, but he's just trying to help his clients understand what the stock's doing.
Right.
And that's all I'm trying to do, to say, look, you can be a bull, just be aware that you got this negative data that's coming out. And over the last couple of weeks, like with volumes, people now know that the numbers are not going to be 460 or 470. They're going to be, 440, 445. I think the China numbers this week were good enough that people will probably take their numbers up in the last couple of days. I mean, I would probably bring mine to 445, and if it comes in at 445, then the stock will probably go up next week, which that's the whole purpose of managing expectations. In stock price parlance, you got to beat expectations, and if you can bring the expectations down and then beat it, then the stock can go higher.
Yeah. I mean, I think they sort of guided on the last earnings call. They're doing factory upgrades. Hopefully the market sort of discounts that, but knowing the media, they're going to try and paint it as some type of disaster.
Oh yeah. Well, you already hear it. They say it's a demand issue. It's not a demand issue. They just weren't making any Model 3s the last 4 weeks in China. And if they were making them, they were putting them on boats because they can't sell them yet in China. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the new Model 3 is going to be very well received in China.
I think it's a gorgeous car.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It looks like a little Model S.
Yeah, it's great. Model S for the price of a Model 3. And then you've got the Cybertruck. I'm sure some of those updates they made to the Model 3 are coming to the Model Y as well. That's going to give Tesla a lot of pricing power going into Q4 and Q1 as these new products ship, I think. I think Cybertruck will push up ASPs. Yep. I think, they're doing inventory discounts right now. They're not going to have to do that with the new Model 3.
Nope.
And, then I think you've got this with V12. That's really, I think, the point where this becomes a real consumer grade product across the country. And I think this is the future of the company, really.
So when you think about V12, and if you had to put a percent with the nines, where 99.99% means you don't have to intervene 99.99% of the time, where do you think that'll be? Like, if you were to take 100 trips, do 99 of them there's no intervention? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, where's the accuracy going to be with V12?
Well, I don't know. I haven't tried it yet. Presumably they haven't released it because it's not as good as this version. Oh. But I think the potential really is that it can improve without a ton of human work. You just sort of have people drive, you take the videos, you put it in, you train, you just throw a ton of compute at it, and you just get improved performance without a ton of engineering involved. So I think it has the potential, and I'm sure this isn't the last architecture. They haven't figured everything out necessarily, but it has the potential to be an inflection point in the rate of improvement, I think.
Yeah, I don't think you want a V13.
Yeah, it might be one to weird. Skip. Kind of unlucky.
Yeah, it's like elevators, you don't have a 13th floor. You go from 12 to 14. But yeah, look, I'm bullish on the stock, and I actually think FSD is, it's a breakthrough product.
Yeah.
But, my question is how much is in the stock? And like you notice it when there's a setback with FSD, the stock doesn't really move.
Right.
It doesn't move up and it doesn't move down. And like when Elon posted his drive, for 45 minutes through Palo Alto, stock didn't really go up. I mean, people were not, the average garden variety institutional investor was like, okay, yeah, that's good. But I knew that, and he still had to intervene. So it wasn't like something that changed people's mind about Dojo or AI, or that you no longer have lines and lines of code, and it learns from itself. People didn't change their mind about that. So I think people were struck by that, because I think when he posted on Friday night, people say, "Wow, this is going to make everybody think differently." It really didn't. I mean, you may have thought differently about it, but the average institutional investor...
I don't think he necessarily thought it was going to convince everybody, but I think he just wanted to show the people that maybe follow these things, like what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm not saying Elon was thinking about it. He didn't care about the stock, but...
I think you're right. The market, most people, they don't really understand or believe in it. They think it's all a big disaster.
No,
Nothing
nobody
more.
thinks it's a disaster.
When you see the way it's portrayed in the media, that's basically...
That's the media. Ignore the media. The media doesn't do shit. But the average investor, the guy who's a girl at Fidelity who owns the stock, is it going to cause them to buy more because Elon showed a 45-minute ride? The answer is no. It doesn't change your opinion, because people still, I think like me. They say, okay, they're gonna sell so many EVs by 2030 at so much price, so much margin, come up with a earnings in 2030, discount it back, put a value on it, and very little value added is being put into FSD. And that's why robotaxi becomes important, because if you can actually have another TAM where you've got a fleet of robotaxis earning money for Tesla, then you can put a much higher value on the stock.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep going back to robotaxi. Is it good enough where it's 99.99% of the time you don't have to intervene, and Tesla's willing to accept the liability so they can get robotaxi licenses, everywhere. And I just don't know if that's true yet. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
It's not true yet, but they're making fast progress towards that goal. I think the really key thing is, when you just look at how they've architected it, they've made it really simple, really cost effective, and really scalable. So, they haven't shown that you can drive, thousands and thousands of miles without an intervention yet. But I think as they improve the software, they can get there. And if they can get it to work, they've got a business with, millions of vehicles overnight. I think I saw S&P Global Mobility, they did a forecast, and they said by 2035 there will probably be 800,000 of these things out there. There's already 5 million Teslas that can run it today. If there's even a chance they can pull it off, and I'm becoming increasingly confident they can. You're seeing it right now. They're making progress. It's getting better and better.
Yeah,
it's getting smoother.
It's not jerky anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So
and it doesn't make these sudden lane changes like the last time I drove with you.
yeah, they've been doing a lot of work on it. So I really think they can get there, and if they can get there, they have the productive capacity of millions of cars, right?
Sure.
Even if Waymo and Cruise created a general purpose self-driving car today, how long would it take them to get to Tesla's level of production on 4 continents?
Couldn't do it. And I don't view Waymo and Cruise as being the competition. I really don't.
Yeah.
They're geo-fenced, and
right.
They just can't, as you say, turn on a button and everything suddenly works. And those cars cost a ton of money.
Right.
This is, incrementally, it doesn't cost that much to put this into a car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the licensing opportunity is also huge. Just even on the active safety front, if you have this understanding of what's happening around the car, just shipping features when they're driving manually to make sure they won't crash, that's a huge differentiator too. Mm-hmm. I think everybody's going to want to license that, if nothing else.
Well, let's see. I saw what happened in China. BYD was licensing from Baidu, and then they suddenly said, we want to do it ourselves because autonomy is too important. We can't let somebody else do it. We have to do it ourselves. And we'll see. We'll see if people will say, let Tesla do it for us, where you're basically giving up, to your point, the huge value in a car to Tesla.
Right.
And I don't know. Is Ford going to do that? Is GM going to do that? I don't know. That's ceding a big chunk of the future value of a car.
Well,
Tesla.
The thing is,
if they're nowhere themselves,
it's very difficult to do. They could do it.
Toyota's nowhere.
Yeah. They could do it, but they'd have to just do what Tesla is. Tesla's spending $2 billion on training compute, on NVIDIA, on Dojo.
Yeah.
They're putting millions of cars out to gather data. Anyone can do it, but it just takes billions of dollars and a lot of time and millions of cars.
So who do you think will be the first to license?
It's a good question, but
who's the furthest behind without, and who will admit it? That's why I keep saying Toyota. We're short Toyota in our short.
Oh, really?
Yep, it's our biggest position.
Yeah.
Because they're nowhere in EVs and they're nowhere on autonomy.
Yeah, it's true.
And at least Ford's spending the money, and
they're very resistant too. So you can see it took the exit here.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah.
It's not, so versus a year ago, it's not jerky.
Yeah.
It's much smoother. See how it does, like when it pulls up to a light and stops it, where it used to creep out into the intersection. It's not doing that anymore.
Yeah, they've done a massive amount of work, and the crazy thing is they're about to throw this all away with V12 and take an entirely different approach. So they're just improving really fast. They've got an amazing team on this. The fact that they're just doing this all with cameras just blows my mind as a programmer.
Yeah. Well, just the machine is teaching itself, which is good.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are flying. So when are you getting your new car?
Before Saturday.
Before Saturday.
They haven't given me a date yet, but
So it's going to be an S?
Yeah.
But not a Plaid?
Not a Plaid. The long range was already a little bit of a stretch, but with them reducing the price, I was like, all right. And the FSD transfers, I can transfer my FSD I paid $7,000 for on this car in 2020. Now I can take it to the second car.
You can't get $7,500 off though.
No, but
So what? You're not that concerned about it. You have to wait anyway. You have to wait till April.
Yeah, exactly.
So screw it.
Yeah, it would be nice to get it, but what can you do? That's the law. They really screwed over the high price sedans.
Yeah.
And it's weird because the Model X gets it up to 80K, but I don't know what they were thinking.
Well, that's like Rivian. We own Rivian as a stock too. We're short Lucid, we're long Rivian, and look, it's because Rivian is in the two hottest segments, pickups and small SUVs, where Lucid makes these giant sedans that nobody wants.
Right.
And it's just interesting that Rivian priced their both their pickup and the R1T and the R1S right below 80 grand, so they can they don't get 7,500, they get 3,750.
Yeah.
But they're doing well. I think
they're all over the place here.
Somebody's going to buy them out.
Rivian's all over the place here.
But they're using. I mean, they could use the FSD technology.
Oh yeah, they could totally license it.
And I could see that. I mean, they already use the charging. They're part of the charging network. But I think Rivian is.
A lot of Tesla customers love Rivian too. If they licensed.
High satisfaction, very high satisfaction.
Yeah. If they licensed it, they'd get a ton of sales.
Yeah, somebody should buy them out.
Yeah, I mean, if they can't make it work on their own, which I think will be a little tough, it would be a great target for any legacy automaker.
But hasn't their CEO come out and said that it's very hard to get to full autonomy? Or am I
Rivian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. But they are doing some stuff internally, but I think it's just mostly focused on ADAS. So you can see all the people it's picking up here.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
All the people walking. They look like zombies. This is San Francisco. I don't know. The city used to be such a great city to just walk around, and now it makes me nervous more.
Yeah.
You live here, right?
Yeah. I mean, You
don't worry about getting mugged or crime or anything. Or
I've never gotten mugged. I've lived here for a long time. It's like certain places are not so good, but other neighborhoods are fine.
Why did it get so bad? Was it just after COVID? Because it was a great city. It was very safe, very clean.
You know what happened is they kept attracting all the tech workers, right?
Yeah.
So they said, bring in all the tech companies, all the tech jobs. And then when COVID happened,
nobody came in anymore.
They had no need to come in, right? You're a doctor. Yeah. You got to go to the doctor's office. You're a programmer.
Yeah, you can work out of Palo Alto or wherever.
So suddenly they're like, okay, I can't go out. I'm working from home. What's the point of me even being here?
Yeah.
And commercial real estate just tanked here harder than anything else. All the restaurants near the offices, right? They were making all this money serving people. And that's kind of, they just really still haven't recovered from the pandemic. All right, so here we are.
You want to go have a drink?
Yeah, let's do it.
Shut your thing on. You park here.
All right, so there we go. We had one takeover.